Hello everyone, welcome to Cyber Preserve. I am Afshan Naqvi, and in this video we are going to learn about the CISSP domain 1, that is security and risk management. This video series is a part of the tools that rules standards that follow series. So without further ado, let's start. Okay, so here is a quick introduction of myself. My name is Afshan and I'm working as a cybersecurity research engineer at CyberLife. I'm also working as an instructor at SOC Expert and SecureZ.io. And I'm also a member of Breaking Barriers Women in Cybersecurity. I'm also running a YouTube channel called AFS Hackers where I shared my cybersecurity knowledge with other people. Let's see the agenda of this video. We are going to learn about the cornerstone security objectives, common security terms, and risk management. We'll also discuss about the risk mitigation and security policies and procedures. Let's start with the first topic, that is security objectives. The three main objectives of security are confidentiality, integrity, and availability, which forms the CIA triad. Many organizations focus on one area more than the other. For example, the intelligence agencies are concerned with the confidentiality of the data or the information, where the financial institutions are focused on accuracy or integrity, and the e-business sites emphasize availability. So as a security professional, we need to integrate all three elements of the CIA triad together to achieve defense in depth. Let's see the next topic, that is CIA triad or the CIA triangle. The CIA triad stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality prevents the intentional or unintentional unauthorized disclosure of data, where integrity deals with the accuracy of information, ensures modifications are not made to data by unauthorized personnel or processes. Availability ensures the reliable and timely access to data or computing resources by the appropriate personnel. Okay, so this is all about the CIA triad, and this is a very important topic in cybersecurity as well. Let's see the next topic, that is common security terms. So the first term is authentication. In simple terms, authentication is the process of verifying your identity. For example, when you go through a security checks in airports, so you show your ID card to authenticate your ID, right? So this is all about the authentication. Second topic is accountability. So basically, accountability shows that a particular individual performed a particular action, or we can say accountability makes you responsible for your action. uh, Audit trails and logs support this concept. Next one is authorization. Authorization determines which user or group of users should have access to what group of information. This is usually based on the service and data a person requires to do their job. In an organization, users should not have the same level of access to the network as system administrator, right? So this is about the authorization. Next one, we have a non-repudiation. Non-repudiation is an assurance that someone cannot deny the validity of something. Like, it is a legal concept that is widely used in information security, and refers to a service which provides proof of the origin of data and the integrity of the data. For example, in online transaction, digital signatures ensures that a party cannot later deny sending information or deny authenticity of its signatures, right? So this is about the non-repudiation. Let's see the next common security term, that is vulnerability. Vulnerability is a weakness or flaw in a system. Security procedures, design, implementation, or internal controls that could be exercised, accidentally triggered, or intentionally exploited, and result in a security breach or violation of the system's security policy. Next one is a threat. A cybersecurity threat is a malicious act that seeks to damage data, steal data, or disrupt digital life in general. Cyber threats include computer viruses, data breaches, denial of service, that is DOS, and other attack vectors. Next common term is exploit. An exploit is a program or a piece of code designed to find and take advantage of security flaw or vulnerability in an application or a computer system, typically for malicious purpose such as installing malware. An exploit is not a malware itself, but rather it is a method used by cybercriminals to deliver malware. Next one is risk. A cybersecurity risk is the probability of exposure, loss of critical assets, and sensitive information or reputational harm as a result of a cyber attack or breach within an organization network. Next, we have this is the last term, that is defense in depth. So, defense in depth refers to an information security approach in which a series of security mechanisms and controls are thoughtful layered throughout a computer network to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, that is CIA tried, of the network and the data within. So basically, it is a strategy that leverages multiple security measures to protect an organization's asset. Let's see the next topic, that is introduction to risk management. One of the most common important concept that an information security professional can understand is the risk. We need to understand the purpose of the organization is to fulfill its mission. So basically, the purpose of the security team or the security professional is to help the business make informed decision about security issues that could potentially compromise the organization's mission. So basically, organizations don't care about the information security, they care about the business, and ultimately security is concerned with managing risk to a business. So in order to understand how to effectively manage risk, we have to first understand what risk itself. So let's see the definition of risk. So here is a simple definition of risk associated with information security, that is risk is equal to threat into vulnerability. So threats are anything that can cause harm to an information system. So there are three main types of threats we have. The first one is natural threat, the second one is unintentional threat, and the last one is intentional threat. Natural threat caused by the mother nature like floods, quakes, temperature extremes, storms are all the example of natural threats. Second one is unintentional threat. It's like an employee mistakenly accessing the wrong information or accidentally deleted an important file. Intentional threat, computer crimes are the best example of intentional threats, or when someone purposely damages property or information. Computer crimes include espionage, identity theft, child pornography, and credit card crimes. So we have discussed the vulnerability, that vulnerability is a weakness in a system or a flaw in a system that could potentially be exploited. So basically, risk is calculated for particular threat into vulnerability pairs. Likelihood is another key concept that helps inform our risk management. Likelihood assessment goal is to determine how likely successful exploitation of the vulnerability will be. Several factors inform the likelihood of successful exploitation. These factors include the threat motivation, threat capabilities, ease of exploitation, and existing controls and countermeasures. The more likely a scenario, the greater the risk. A final concept for understanding the risk equation is that of impact. In addition to likelihood, impact is a critically important concept for determining risk. Impact attempts to determine what the outcome of successful exploitation would be. So this is about the definition of risk. We have covered the risk definition, that is risk is equal to threat into vulnerability, and we have covered the three main types of threats we have, likelihood and impact and the vulnerability we have covered in this particular slide. Let's see the risk management. The goal of analyzing risk is to understand the current state of risk and make informed decision about where item needs additional security. The first strategy in risk management is prioritizing risk reduction. Effective risk management must prioritize a risk reduction strategy, taking into account all of the inputs into the risk analysis equation, as well as time and cost to implement countermeasures capable of eliminating or reducing risk to an acceptable level. So you should ask these questions like, should all the vulnerabilities for critical system be remediated first, or should a commonly occurring vulnerability throughout the enterprise be remediated first? So this could be done by the prioritizing risk reduction strategy. Next one is asset identification. So basically, in order to manage risk, the risk must be understood. In order for risk to be understood, we have to appreciate the assets on which the vulnerability exists. Asset identification is a key phase of the risk analysis process, and we have to evaluate the asset values. So here are some key questions pertaining to the identified assets. So the first question is, what would be the impact if these assets were unavailable? Second is, what would be the impact if the data associated with these assets were breached? And the last question is, what would be the impact if the data associated with the assets were altered or modified? So this is all about the asset identification. We have to evaluate the asset value in this strategy. Next is risk determination. In risk determination, we have to understand threat sources and their motivation and capabilities. Also have to understand the particular vulnerabilities and the likelihood of the exploitation or the successful exploitation. Presuming successful exploitation, we must understand the CI impact. We must also assess the current controls that could limit the impact or decrease the likelihood. So with all of this, we can perform the risk calculation for each particular vulnerability on each system. Then we just have to aggregate the score and finally determine overall risk. Next one is excessive risk. So you have spent many sleepless nights and finally completed the individual and overall risk analysis. Management will review and determine whether the determined risk level is acceptable or not. If not, then the risk is excessive, which doesn't mean a lot of risk, but rather simply that the risk exceed acceptable level. If risk is determined to be excessive, then the organization must determine what the response will be. There are several different valid responses we have in risk management. Next one is we have the risk mitigation. So there are four ways of treating risk. The first one is risk avoidance. I know it sounds a bit childish, but it is a legitimate response. Risk avoidance typically involves deciding not to move forward with the project that introduced the risk. It could also involve decommissioning a deployed system or servers. Next one, we have the transferring risk. Another approach to dealing with excessive risk is called risk transfer. Risk transfer, also known as the risk sharing. The idea is to involve a third party to help address the risk. The most common type of risk transfer is to purchase of insurance to pay in the event of a loss. Another approach to risk sharing is to outsource the risky system or application to a third party. Third is accepting the risk. At some point, the organization will have to accept certain level of risk. There will always be a residual risk even after additional countermeasures are employed. Some level of risk will likely remain. Choosing not to employ additional avoidance, transfer, or mitigation is also a risk acceptance. Last one, we have the risk mitigation. So mitigation strategies are the most common outcome when unacceptable level of risk is identified. Mitigation can come in many flavors. It could be a threat oriented, it could be maybe it could be a vulnerability oriented, likelihood oriented, or an impact oriented. So this is about the risk mitigation. Let's see the next topic, that is security policies. So information security policies provide high-level guidance regarding expected conditions, outcomes, and behavior. It must be known and understood by the employees and must not conflict with other laws and policies of the organization. The goal is to ensure that the employees understand organizational expectations, fundamentally dependent upon organizational security posture and corporate culture. Effective security policies cannot just cut and paste security policies from a book or website. Very important. We can't cut and paste security policies from book or website. Next one is security procedure. This is our last topic. Compared to a security policies, security procedures are much more detailed. Security procedures are focused on how to achieve what security policies mandate, and security procedures allow for processes to include security controls point that can serve as preventive or detective controls for sensitive data or transactions. So this is all about the security policies and procedures. Okay, so here is a summary what we have learned. We have learned the cornerstone security objectives, that is CIA triad, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We have seen the common security terms, that is vulnerability, threat, risk, defense in depth, accountability, authentication, authorization, non-repudiation, and exploits. And we have also discussed the risk management strategies. The first one is prioritizing risk reduction, asset identification, risk determination, excessive risk, and we have also covered the risk mitigation. We have seen the 4 ways we can mitigate risk. And last topic, we have seen the security policies and procedures. So thank you for watching this video. Okay, so that's it for this video, guys. I hope you like it, and keep watching Cyber Preserve for more CISSP training related videos. So take care and keep learning. Bye bye.